But it also talks about the Duc D'Anville expedition that was set off in 1746 to come and take Louisburg back from the English.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that that was a failed mission. It never made it. A lot of the ships didn't even make it. D'Anville died, I think, too, during
Yeah,
that whole.
he went missing. He never showed up or whatever.
So Duc D'Anville, as Tom has some things for us here to talk about. But that expedition was sent because they were the Louisburg was taken away from the French by the English. They took it over, and so the French were not happy about that. So they put an armada together, and they Duc D'Anville. They sent it back across to go and retake Louisburg back from the Brits. Okay, so they came back across, and they talked about Doug Crow talked about a ship's log. He's read it on the show several times, and last night they talked about it again. But this time we got to look at a few more pages of this thing than we have
They
before.
flipped the pages down one by one that you could take a screenshot of them.
Yes. Yes,
Now,
they did.
admittedly, it's not the original document; it's a translation. We most often hear Doug talk about, and they had this discussion, and it was decided that a deep pit or great pit be dug.
Yes.
And that's pretty much all we hear, right? But if you go through and take screenshots of each page when they flip it down, right? There's a lot more interesting detail in there. On page 2, it talks about the great quantity of treasure on this vessel makes it unwise to jeopardize it in any way to fall to the enemy. So they're going to hide it. Right. We talk about all the wood they found on the island. On page 3, if I can, in the afternoon was spent. This was a couple days later in September. The afternoon it was spent paying the men and paid up for something in stores for, I think it's D'Anville, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he paid 50 men who were cutting down trees on a small island.
Right here, 50 men ashore cutting down trees on a small island.
You wonder where the wood came from?
And 50 men, yeah, and
look at the wood exactly. 50 men could cut down over a couple of days. But anyway, they talk about his manpower to dig this pit was to use 200 men over 15 days.
200 men.
So think about it: 200 men, 15 days. Just the logistics to have those people there, fed water and looked after. They also dug 2 shafts. They talk about digging 2 shafts. One down to 92 feet.
Yep.
Right. The shaft was going to be, and the other one, and at 67 feet, they decided they needed to go deeper.
Right here,
because they were passing through soggy ground or wet ground. At 80 feet, water was still coming in. They also passed through a layer of rock. So we think back to last week when they talk about a broken chisel.
Yep.
They dug a separate pit to try and get air in. They used 35 men for that. At 92 feet, they found that the soil was drier.
Yep, right here.
They get down. They get down to 92 feet, right? And they also talk in the earlier pages about an attack on Annapolis, which would have been Annapolis Royal, Digby, on the other side of Nova Scotia, which was originally a French settlement. Champlain settled it. So yeah, so we'll post those on the page, and people can look through it, and you can draw your own conclusions.
Yep.
But a lot of interesting information.
And a lot more than we've ever heard on the show.
Yep.
And that's the key. Now, yes, these are a translation. I would love to see the original ship's log. And I don't know if that can be found. Doug, I don't know if Doug just found this.
I think I think he just found the translated log. Yeah.
Yeah, but man, wouldn't you love? I would love to see the original log.
It blew me away. 50 men cutting down trees,
and then 200
men assigned to the digging project.
Right. So we've talked about that before. We've said how many people would it possibly take to do something like this. And there it is. I mean, you think about 200 men working, and now these 200 men, they're going to need fresh water. They're going to need a place to shelter, a place to cook, and and do all that kind of stuff. They're going to need privies and everything else. So, and that kind of correlates, if you think about it, though. Dating of the wood. This is something that Jack said on the show last night. The dating of the wood that was in the in that shaft, the DN.526.5, and then also the dating of the artifacts that they're finding over which was the circle feature in lot 5 that now they're calling something else. Just, well, we'll keep calling it the circle feature because we don't know what else to call it for now. But the dating of those artifacts also about that same time frame.
Yeah. The other thing too, and somebody's point earlier about how far away did these tunnels go to the shore?
Yeah.
Making plans for a secret tunnel from the shore to the treasure chamber.
Yeah. Okay. Linda just put up Duc D'Anville died and was buried in Halifax Harbor at or St. George's Island. 4 years later, his body was moved to Fort Louisburg, where it is today.
Okay. So that's our rant on the 3 pages that we never saw before. Didn't see before.